Hello and welcome to episode 376 of the Mark and Me podcast. As always, everyone, I'm your host, Mark. Now, joining me on today's episode is the singer, songwriter, Roe Kapara. This guy is really making a name for himself in the industry. I've been absolutely blown away by his performance at 2000 Trees, and my God, I'm so excited for the brand new album Big Cigars and Satin Shorts, which is out on August the 23rd. Roe is a unique individual. I think he's doing something that no one else is doing on the scene right now, and it's such a great opportunity to sit down and do this interview, and I can't wait to share it with you all in just a couple of minutes' time. But just before we do, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who last week tuned in to my interview with Sam Matrusty from the excellent Twin Atlantic. What a band, what an interview. The response was huge, so thank you so much to everyone that took the time to listen and everyone that shared it. It really was one of the highlights of Mark and Me. But today it's all about Roe, and this guy is fascinating and I really can't wait to get to it. So here's the interview with me and Roe talking all things music. So, Roe, thank you for joining me today on the Mark and Me podcast.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Roe, what I love to do with all guests that come on the show is take it right back to the very start. So, I'm always intrigued where it all started for you. So, was there a first album that you remember buying, or maybe a CD was given to you that made you fall in love with music?
Yeah, I used to listen to the Songs About Jane album, the Maroon 5 album with my mom in the car, like every day to she would take me to like some sort of sports practice that I was never very good at. And then we would just sing Adam Levine or whatever for like, 30 minutes there and then 30 minutes back.
What about live music? So for me, it all changed. I've said it so many times, but one of my first ever gigs was Green Day. I'm 42 years old, so it shows my age, but it blew my mind. When I walked in and saw them play, it made me want to pick up a guitar and be in a band and fall in love with music. And I wondered what your first live gig was. Was it an embarrassing, terrible one that you never tell people, or was it something quite cool and a nice claim to fame?
The first like real one that I like bought and went to was a Pink Floyd cover band with like made up of a bunch of like dads that like play saxophone and stuff. And that was really it was really cool actually. They're really good. El Monstero is their name. Maybe you've heard of them. But that was a fun concert. I don't know. I think the first concert that actually blew me away, which is so surprising because I've actually been to a lot of concerts because I used to go with my dad and my friends a lot when I lived in St. Louis. But the one that like actually blew me away, the first one was Sugar Pit, which he's like a very new artist. Maybe you've heard of him. He's like a punk artist. It was really amazing. It was great because I feel like a lot of the shows I've seen, by the time I see them, they're kind of already somewhat big. Like even if they're small, they're still like big enough to like feel like a 1,000 cap room or something. And by the time they get there, I kind of feel like it loses the rawness of it. Like it's because they want to put on such a great show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it feels like they're very well practiced, which usually isn't a bad thing. But I like to see I like to see the energy. By then, it's like they've done it so many times. You know what I mean? They probably hate their own music, but yeah.
What was it like for you then? When was the moment that it kind of clicked that you went, I want to start writing songs, I want to play music, I want to go down that kind of walk of life?
I mean, I was always writing like for forever. Like I can't remember not writing, to be honest. Like even before I started learning guitar, I was writing. Like I was just always like writing lyrics and singing and I couldn't stop, which is so funny because like everybody in my life like that was like kind of close to me had always said I was very good, but they also always told me that I can't do that. as like a thing. You know what I mean? As like a job or anything. So I never even considered it. But yeah, I don't know what sparked it. I mean, there was no like I didn't get hit on the head like by a piano or anything. I just I just was always doing it. Like there never a moment I really wasn't doing it, I think. Like that I can remember. I remember my guitar teacher. I had like a guitar teacher for a year. And I quit because like I wouldn't read music or whatever or learn anything he told me to do because I like wasn't listening. And every time he would leave the room, I would start writing a song and he would get mad at me. So that never really worked out learning that way.
It was always
So
boring, wasn't it? I learned guitar. My mom used to like say, you need to learn all the chords and how to read tablature and notate. And I'm like, it's fucking boring me. Like, I don't want to. I just want to learn songs. So I'll be sitting there trying to play Nirvana or Pearl Jam or then write my own songs. I never cared about all the structure of music. And I should have because it would help me. But I was like, fuck that. It's never going to get me anywhere.
yeah, I mean, I feel like the only time it was weird, it was the only thing where I think I could learn without somebody teaching me. I
Yeah.
think where everything else in life I needed somebody to teach me how to do something. That was the only thing where it's like I felt like I was learning faster by like by listening to the songs I liked and like learning them by myself. Like it was the only way for me. So weird.
You mentioned as well, and it's a conversation I have, even though I've done the podcast for 7 years, it happens a lot. Having a family that support you in a way that you want to be a musician or you want to be, if you want to be a famous sports player, like in football or soccer or anything like that, your odds are against you, aren't you, in trying to make it? So your family are always kind of like, you need to get a real job or you need to get a proper job because it's hard to convince them that you can make money and try and make a career out of being a musician. So was it tough for you to kind of battle that all the time if they weren't kind of helping you and pushing you along?
Yeah, definitely. That's probably one of the toughest parts about being music because being in music because like I think personally it's like I wouldn't care if I had to go live in a tent for a while or something. Like I don't even care. Like I just want to do music where it's like, yeah, I don't know. I think some of it comes from a place of like, yeah, they definitely really care about you. And then there's another piece where I think it's like they just want to be right. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So I think it's both for sure.
It's
So
tough though, isn't it? It's kind of is there part of you inside that wants to kind of prove them wrong and be like, look, I fucking did it. I'm playing festivals, I'm playing gigs, I'm having an EP coming out. Like, I'm fucking doing it.
yeah, yeah, but I don't think there'll ever be any satisfaction, to be honest. So it doesn't matter.
Not even if you're on like a world headline tour and you've got, the sellout arenas, would that still not be enough for them?
It just depends on who it is.
Yeah.
But I mean, some people that are in my life are like, yeah, that's amazing. And like as it is, like just seeing 100 people sing my lyrics. And I mean the first time I saw like 100 people singing my lyrics, I was about to cry. And certain people in my family are like, that's amazing. And there's other people that they don't I don't think they care, which is fine. Like, that's what it is. So
Do you set
um
yourself any kind of, I don't want to say goals because that makes it like a job, but are there any kind of things you're reaching for? I mean, obviously you played 2000 Trees over here in the UK, which is a great festival and is a really fucking unique experience. And I think all the bands that play that festival are just wonderful. I think it's a beautiful festival. But was that something you were like, I want to play in the UK, I want to headline in London, I want to, is there certain things you set out to try and achieve?
yeah, I mean there is. I mean, none of it is really like, oh, I want to play this specific. Well, actually, that's not true. I guess that there is one spot I really want to play and I want to sell out. It's like the pageant in St. Louis because I grew up there. So I definitely would love to do that. I think that would be such a beautiful moment. I guess that's the one real goal I have. And then also being just financially, fine for the rest of my life. Whether that's like living in an apartment, I never have to work again and I can just write every day. That's, beautiful to me as well. Like doesn't matter. So I think those two
To do
goals.
what you love every day would just be enough, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean, because it's so weird because I think mu music or really just like creative, like just arts in general, like I don't think you can have I think it's like this is gonna sound so privileged, but I think it feels kind of like torture to have to go to work because sometimes it's like, oh, you're about to write the thing. You know what I mean? That's gonna satisfy you that day. And that moment's gone because you had to go do whatever. You know what I mean? You had to go like check the till and whatever the fuck you do for work. And it's like I feel like that it's like the same thing as like if you have plans with like a friend even. It doesn't even have
Yeah.
to be work. I mean like that'll just like throw off your whole shit. Like and it's so annoying. Like I want to have the whole day to like can't be able to cancel plans and if something happens to like just do the thing that I want to do, you know, artistically.
The thing with it is, and you've really hit on a good point there because I podcast kind of part time, but trying to get more towards full time. But
Yeah.
it's always the golden opportunities that come along where it's like I've committed to doing paid work that day because I need to pay the bills or I want to be able to
Right.
eat. And I really wish I don't want to be a rich man. I don't want to live in a big mansion. I don't want a private jet. I don't want a silly, ridiculous rock star lifestyle. I just want to be able that I can say, actually, I can't, I don't need to say no to interviews. I don't need to say no to opportunities. I want to be able to just know that if something good comes along, I can just do it.
Yeah, exactly. Which like the best thing that can come along is like, you know, a good podcast or something, right? Or like
Exactly,
whatever.
yeah. The dream guest that says I can do it, but you say I'm sorry I can't, like is the most frustrating thing in the world.
Yeah, I bet. It's, well, I mean, I've been there. Who knows when I'll be there again. So it's just so annoying. I hate it. I agree with you. I don't know. Just how life is set up.
How was 2000 Trees for you? I was there, but I was busy. I was interviewing bands all day, every day. I was doing live sets, so it was crazy busy. But I just wondered how for you personally you felt it went.
It was so fun. It was great. Got up there. Um, his name is Frank Turner, I believe, right?
That's
The
who I played with. Yeah.
Yes, yes. He had a great set. I didn't know I had known some songs from him too, so that was really fun to hear.
So
I
you
didn't
came
know
on.
that.
You came on after me, didn't you? I did the podcast with Frank in the afternoon
Yes.
on the Forest stage, and then you came on.
Yeah, I know, but it was like such a great set, and it was so funny because when we went up there, it's like not as many people know us as they know him, so the whole crowd left, and it was really funny to watch, like just to see if people leave. And then as we started playing, it was really this was the funnest part is that we started gathering a crowd, and that was really cool to see everybody. They heard the
Yeah.
music, they came around, and they listened. And also, it was cool to see some fans there that had missed the show. I guess they had completely missed that I did a headline show, which is so funny. So they were like, "What? You did a headline show?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah." Shit, I guess I'm really bad at marketing my shows. But yeah, that was a really fun time. Um, got we got a bunch of free beer after, so that was also my favorite part as well. Me and my guitarist. So
Well, that's always great. But
uh,
the Forest stage I felt was really magical on that Saturday. I don't know, it just felt like something special. It's hidden. People kind of discover it, and then I don't know. It's just something. There's nothing else like that stage at the festival or anywhere I've been.
yeah, it was a blast. And during that set, a bunch of people dressed as I said at the time wizards pulled up to the show, and that was cool. And I was like, "Hey, a bunch of wizards," and they got really mad at me because I guess they were witches.
Oh
So
dear. Got to be
bad
careful with
guys.
the witches and the wizards. I saw when I was
Yeah.
on stage with Frank, I kept looking out and I kept seeing two people dressed as ghosts, and I wasn't sure if it was like in my head, and I was like, "Am I fucking drunk? Like, are those ghosts in the crowd?" But there were actual people in full adult costumes dressed as ghosts, which was fucking weird.
I mean, it's kind of cool, I guess. Yeah. I think you're right. I think it was magical, mystical ghost time in the woods. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the Blair Witch. But I wonder what the rest of the year was looking like for you. Obviously, now the single's out there, so people can listen right now if they listen to this interview to Dumb.
Yeah.
Truly, it's a great song, and what I do before I do an interview, I always listen to loads of music and get myself in the kind of zone. And when I was listening to Dumb today, and I hope you take this as a compliment, I got tones and kind of feelings of like bands like Everclear.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I've
Uh,
gotten that recently. So
Yeah, so I was I was hearing kind of Art Alexis kind of poppy choruses with the chord structures and the sing-alongs, and I was like, that's got that Southern Californian kind of vibe about it, and I was like, this is fucking great. So I'm really looking forward to listening to the EP.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm excited for it to come out. I'm like I'm so I guess it's just my ADHD. I don't know. Like I definitely I the excitement of like something that I've been sitting on is just completely gone. You know what I mean? And the things that I'm working on are the things I want to show everybody. So it's so funny how that works, you know.
Has it kind of been sat there for a while? Is it kind of that thing where you've got this EP that you've sat on, you know the songs, you've waited for it to be mastered and put out there and published, and you just kind of like not bored, but you like, I'm already on the next chapter.
Yeah, I'm like bored. Like
Yeah.
I'm so bored. Yeah, I mean, I I don't know. Yeah, I'm definitely on the next thing. It's so weird because I don't even know what the next thing is, but I'm like already making songs, you know what I mean, and recording them and whatever. And I don't know what the next project feels like or whatever, but like yeah, the music is there for sure. And so each song I make, I'm like, oh, I'm really excited about this, and then I get even more bored of the old things, even though, you know, I'm sure the people that are going to hear them are like it's new to them, so you know that's important.
So are you looking at kind of the EP comes out in August? Are you going to then look at trying to tour and play as much as you can, get the songs out there, heard? Have you got any like tours or support slots booked that people can come and check you out?
Yeah, I'm doing like a small headline show in or three of them in California, I believe. I'm gonna do a stretch of three shows or something, and then hopefully something else like pops up where I can do like a support tour or something. But yeah, I'm gonna do like three headline shows
That's awesome.
as of right now. So I'm sure there'll be more coming up, but
Do you put pressure on yourself when you're writing? Do you kind of feel like you're always trying to top what you've done, or you just kind of enjoying the ride you're on and letting kind of fate and everything take its turn?
yeah, I mean, I think like when I'm making the music, it's all for fun. But
Yeah.
like as soon as I get like a verse and a chorus, that's like when I start like getting really, I don't know, like self-deprecating for sure in a lot of ways, and just like, you know, and then feeling like I feel like I can enjoy it and dance to it, but I still hear like why I'm not good enough compared to like my favorite artist or something, like, you know what I mean? So that's constantly always there. That never goes away, I don't think.
Are you always hard on yourself, thinking you should be better, and there's other people that are just 10 times better than you, and you're not good enough? Is that kind? Because of my mentality, I'm not trying to get too deep, but I'm always thinking, I wish I was better. I wish I was as good as this person. And why is that person doing so well? I'm always kind of like my own worst enemy.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Because like I think about this all the time. I think about like how like the internet, and not just the internet, honestly, just like, you know, the way like telecommunications, everything, like how humans have been connected for like the last 50 years, like so close knit. And like way back in the day when there's like villages, there was like a guy with a guitar, and I'm sure everybody would gather around and like pay this guy at the bar, and he could sing and make a living or whatever. And now that we're all connected, you have to be the best of the best of the best of the best. You know what I mean? It just keeps getting more niche. And yeah, no, I think about that all the time, about how like I'm not gonna be Mozart or whatever, and that sucks. But also at the same time, I'm like I am just like what the universe is gonna allow me to be. You know what I mean? It's the same with like how you write music. It's like as long as you're putting yourself in a place to write the songs, which is the hard work. Like that's the hard part, is like putting yourself in the place to do it. Like the universe gives you what you're supposed to have. Like and gives you what you're capable of doing. I mean, like there's not that's like completely out of my control, but at the same time, I still beat myself up that I'm not Mozart. So like, you know, fucking annoying.
I
But
believe there's a lost art now in music videos, and I say that with respect. But when I think of my youth and growing up and watching, music videos like Smashing Pumpkins and early Foo Fighters and all these bands, they had such great music videos on MTV too. The budgets were high, and I used to just like be inspired all the time. But one thing I really love about you is that you've been really creative, and with your music, it's not just the music. You've got this kind of visual element to you as well. And I've seen a lot on Instagram how kind of out there and different and the imaginary kind of visuals that go with the music is very different, and I love that that stands out and it's getting people's attention. I'm seeing lots of comments. But is that something that means a lot to you? You kind of always trying to make that kind of cinematic visual to go with the music?
Yeah, I think so. I think that like I think all like I think it's like impossible not to like to dream of something while you're like listening to music,
Yeah.
like to see something in your brain, like I don't know, like a bunch of like animatronic monsters singing. Like if that's how it feels, if that's how it feels, that's how you're gonna be looking in your brain, like when you listen to it. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. Like I definitely always feel like the visuals I make or whatever, like especially on like when you have to do it on a day-to-day basis, it's like it always is gonna fall flat. Like, because nothing can like ever look like what you're seeing, like when you're listening. You know what I mean? That's how I feel. But like, yeah, I do think about visuals a lot and things of that nature. Um, but
Did you
yeah,
try and make those videos to be different? Because I've seen comments like you must look at your own comments on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all
sure.
this sort of stuff, and people are like they're trying to discover who the real you is because in every video you're very different and you might be dressed up or in face paint or
Oh, sure.
complete costumes and stuff. And I wonder, are you just doing like going through the different genres and kind of showing different parts of you, or are you just having fun and not making a conscious decision to not show the world who you really are?
I think for like a really long time, like in my childhood and like also just like growing up in Missouri, you don't realize how like I don't know how dulled down you are as a person, like
Yeah.
you know, and how much everybody else is trying to like, you know, make you fit into the hole you're supposed to fit in and like and the groups you're supposed to be in, like when you grow up in a place like that until you leave. And then so like when I after I left, I it took me a long time, but then realizing like whether it's like, you know, how I dress like to express myself or whether it's my sexuality, whether it's whatever, right? Like all those things were stripped from me like growing up, and I didn't know that until actually like being surrounded with other people that are saying, and no, this is fine, nobody's going to, you know, chastise you or like, you know, or you're not going to like lose everything by expressing who you are as a person. And so I think being out here has allowed me to just like be like me, which is so it's I didn't realize that. I didn't realize how influenced I was also by everybody around me and like I don't know. Like it's just insane. I mean, like the person I used to be is just entirely different. And so this is just me being whatever. Like this is me just having fun, you know, just like doing whatever I want to do.
I
You
was
know,
wondering if you kind of want to rebel against it because you've been not tied up, but kind of caged for so long, especially through your childhood, and you
yeah.
weren't aware that you could be whoever the fuck you want, and you probably
Yeah.
felt you had to be a certain way. When those boundaries are gone and the cage is taken away, you can just fucking go crazy. So I wondered if you wanted to go to the opposite side and be like, well, actually, I've not been able to do this, so now I'm going to go fucking to a 10 straight
Yeah.
away.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, oh man, yeah, because like I don't know, just as a kid, like like when I first was a child, you know, what I mean, there was no boundaries really, and I was always dressing up and shit. Like
Yeah.
I was dressing up all the time. Like I used to dress up like in Grease and stuff. I used to watch the musical Grease, and I would like dress up like you know like the girls or like the T-Birds and stuff, and I would dress up and like walk around with like a fake cigarette and sing the songs and stuff. Like, and I was just always just like playing like dress up and pretend and stuff, and then like, oh, okay, that's not cool. I have to like wear a polo shirt and like be a yacht rock guy or whatever, or, like, you know, like a fucking or a redneck or whatever the choices were in Missouri. It's just like, yeah, I guess that kind of like I guess that kind of took more of a toll on creating who I thought I was than I really actually realized in the past. And then yeah, you're right. Coming out here, it's like, oh, there's no boundaries. I can do whatever I want. And it was so sick. It was really I don't know. It was just like I could make my own worlds again and be that, and I could find that child again. So,
Isn't it sad that we lose that? And I've never talked about this on a podcast, even though I've done it for so long. And I think I'm on episode 370 something. But we lose that freedom and that creativity as a child that we don't even know we have when we're in those stages of our lives. and
Yeah.
you can go into a wardrobe with any type of fucking costume or clothing and just put it on and have the best day. And no
Yeah.
one is judging you. No one is caring because you're a
Yeah.
child. And that innocence and that kind of freedom gets taken away so quickly as you grow older. And I wish sometimes we kind of were more conscious to what we are doing at that age because if I went and did that now, I'd get called fucking weird or a freak or I'd probably get
Yeah.
beaten up in a bar. But
Yeah.
as a kid, you can just do what the fuck you want.
Yeah. Nobody cared. I mean,
No
even
one
your parents
judged.
care. Like, yeah. Yeah.
I
I
miss that, man.
Yeah, I guess that's why I do all those things. I mean, sure, yeah, like whatever, like to be an artist, like it's better to like dress up and be weird and shit, but it's like but also like I've never felt better, so clearly this is like what I should be doing, you know.
Well, it's not really positive that the fact is that you're doing what you want and no one's telling you not to do it, apart from your couple of trolls you get online, which you're always going to get. But isn't it cool that you're happy, you're positive, you're doing it and not worrying about being judged? Like, that's a really nice place to be in a world that's so fucking judgmental.
Yes, I agree. I think everybody should be there. It's somewhere like I used to be all the time, you know.
Yeah.
We all, so I don't
Is there
know.
an album? Is there an album coming up? I mean, an EP gives a great taster for the people of what you're now going through, and obviously with Big Cigars and Satan Shorts, they're gonna have to, a few songs to give them like a taster of the future. But then everyone's instantly going to be saying, "I now want an album."
Yeah, yeah, I guess it is kind of a taste and it's definitely it very much is how I feel all the time. I think it's like a good representation of how I feel. Like
Yeah,
a lot- right, I think that's the truth of it. The sound though, I mean, it's always like me, but like I'm definitely like moving in different directions and so we'll see what that turns into. But yeah, I do want to do that is like the plan. I would love to do like a full album like traditionally, you know what I mean, as opposed to like how it's done nowadays, where it's like you make like a bunch of singles and then you put them all together, mash them all together into something, which is, I think a lot of people do that now, but
I'd like the
yeah,
idea of a concept for you of an album, like what you'd do, how you'd make it work, how the track listings would work, how you'd make it feel. A journey that people get taken on with EPs and singles. It's great, but it's a short little 4 or 5 minute song. Then it can be something completely different. But I love the idea of what you would love for the listener as a journey to be taken on with your music, and I hope that comes one day from you.
yeah, me too. That's the plan. So
And I suppose what I love to do with all the guests that come on the podcast is I like to end with asking you for a song that means a lot to you. So as this podcast is all edited and ready for the world to listen to, you get to choose a song. And I'm putting you on the spot today, and I know that's a real shitty thing to do because we've only just met. But what's a song that really fucking means a lot to you that you'd love to be played at the end of today's interview?
mm, damn, that's a tough one. I mean,
You've probably got 100, 200 songs in
I
your
don't
head right
know.
now, but
For some reason, Wild Horses by the Rolling Stones keeps popping in my head, so we'll just go with that, I guess. So,
so what's
um,
interesting is I always like to know why that song came along. And I know you're just saying it's for some reason, but what do you think is the reason that came to you yesterday?
well, when I hear that song every time, like this is gonna sound like not the greatest, but it's like I can like picture myself in the back seat of my dad's car and like I can smell his cigarettes, and I
That's
don't know,
cool.
I don't know if that's like, yeah, I don't know if that's why, but that's where it brings me, I guess, and which I guess reminds me of just being a kid, so maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
Dude, I've loved talking to you today. I hope that in the near future you can come back on. When I get guests that first go on the podcast, I do like half an hour, an introduction to you, and then usually guests come back on. I've had some guests come 3 or 4 times, and we really dive deep and we go really into lyrics and music and the world we live in. And I hope that in the near future you come back on because I'd be you're always welcome. And I think that like today we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would love to come back whenever you have me. So, I appreciate you.
So there it is. There's my interview with me and Roe Kapara. Like I said, I think this guy has got something that no one else has on the scene right now. Big words, but just go and check out the music videos. It's unbelievable. So creative, so original, so different, so out there. And my God, the response on TikTok and Instagram has been huge, and I'm absolutely loving all the music I've heard of his so far. As always, guys, if you've enjoyed today's episode, please take a couple of minutes just to share. All the links are on markandme.com. You know the score by now. If you're on Facebook, why not put it as your status or hit that share button? If you're on Twitter or X, just literally hit the retweet button. Or if you're on Instagram, why not just hit the little heart button? Put it as part of your stories or share it. It really goes a long way in getting the podcast heard by a whole new audience. And I want this podcast to be an opportunity for people out there to discover people like Roe. So if you haven't heard of him before and you have because of this podcast, then I'm doing my job right. I want to say a massive thanks again to Roe for coming on the show. A massive thanks to the sponsor of the podcast, Richer Sounds. Without those guys, I couldn't do this podcast. And finally, to support this podcast, I do have a Patreon account. It's on markandme.com. There's a little link. And if you've enjoyed today's episode and just want to throw me a couple of pounds to say thanks for the interview, it allows me basically to go out there and do more interviews for you guys at home. So it really, really is needed and it really is appreciated. And I know times are hard, everything's expensive, but if you just want to give me that little bit, it really goes a long way for the podcast. As always, guys, I'll be back in a couple of days' time with another brand new episode. So until then, listen to Roe, take care, and I'll speak to you all very soon.
I bought them for you. Graceless lady, you know who I am. You know I can't let you slide through my hands. Wild horses couldn't drag me away. Wild horses couldn't drag me away. I watched you suffer a dull aching pain. Now you decided to show me the same.